Hey, good morning. I'm enjoying these first few moments of seeing all the people appear, all these faces, and us coming together, sense of us coming together. So I'll begin with a poem from the first free women, early Buddhist nuns. And after that, we'll take a few minutes to sit and to arrive. This is by Anyatara. When there are two Anyataras, as this is the case, it just says another Anyatara. Okay. When I was young, I left home, and for years I rambled around. My practice, sitting, walking, and hoping. At first, everything was new. I didn't notice my skin drying up or my hair turning grey. Then one morning, there I was, an old woman. Where had I gotten in all those years on the path? That night, I slept out in a field, and it rained. I felt like I belonged there, miserable and alone in the mud. In the morning, I went to the nearest monastery and threw myself down. A nun took me in and taught me. This body, this mind, this world, where they come from, where they go, what they are not. That night, I went out to sit in the field, and it rained. I felt like I belonged there, every drop of water telling me I was home. Don't worry, my sisters. When the road reaches its end, you'll know it. So these are moments of more fully arriving into this present moment. Taking a couple of deep breaths. Opening up to this new day of our precious life. in our present retreat situation, doing this retreat online, the absence of friends is making itself felt. We've not had a day of connecting when we all arrive and we just have a little catch up. We haven't been able to do that. And this retreat would normally be in full silence. So in a way, that's what we've entered, or we're entering into more and more spaces of being silent, more stillness, being with our experience internally and externally. But the absence of our friends is there. So I'd like to suggest that you, if you want to, arrange to meet up. I'm talking about friends who are on the retreat with us. I'm not talking about friends outside of this retreat situation. But I know some of you had looked forward to being on this retreat with your friends. And you know there are good friends who are also traveling this journey this week. So the suggestion is, if you'd like to do that, to today contact your friend and make some kind of arrangement for perhaps a Zoom meeting, just the two of you or the three of you or the four of you, if you're a little group of friends on this retreat, just once now, whether it's today or tomorrow, that's your business. And then at the end of the retreat, if you like, if you feel that would help you address and be more at ease with this absence of friends and company on the retreat. And do it in a way that you feel is appropriate. You might, in the break, if you know how to work the Zoom chat, you could just send a message to those friends, naming them, or just, you'll find other ways. Send them a text or whatever. Okay. So I want to bring in a couple of additions before I move on to our theme for today. And one addition is the meaning of sati, or mindfulness. And yesterday I sent you the whole quote from Living with Awareness. And at the beginning there's a line which I didn't read out, where Bhante talks, he brings together awareness and recollection. And in Bhante's book, he goes quite fully into this meaning of sati, recollection, or even memory. And I read him there as, well, he's talking about sati, the awareness, recollection, sampajanya. And what I hear him talking about here is, with the recollection, we're opening up to, we're bringing in the bigger picture. Recalling, in that sense, memory, remembering, recalling what we've learned, where we've come from, what is feeding into this present moment, and not losing sight of where we're going. So it's just this bigger picture. It's not memory in the sense of when we're mindful, we're sort of remembering lots of stuff. We could just get sucked up and lost in memories, as we know in meditation. So there's this, the bigger picture, the recollection, recalling, bringing to mind, I'm seeing connections here. I know there's been some learning here, and you're bringing that to mind. And the other aspect is the nowness of the present moment. Okay, and the life is happening here. It can only happen here. This is all we've got, friends. We've got this moment. You can't breathe in the future. You can't breathe in the past. You can only breathe in the present. And the same is with living and life. We can only live in the present. It doesn't mean we shut down from everything else. So the connotation of sati with memory is this a full awareness of the present moment, being here now, will make it easier to recall later what happened in that moment. And I can just say from experience that I can fully underline that. The more fully you're with what's happening, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant, that it leaves a kind of imprint in the heart, mind, and you can call that up again. Some memories one might not want to call up, but others, we might want to. I just wanted to add that. And the presence of mindfulness in this way enhances and strengthens memory. That's what I've just described, which is not a bad thing. Bante's memory, what could he the details he remembered. You read his autobiographies, amazing. Yeah, I think that's that kind of proves the point, or is an example, a shining example of what I'm talking about here. So last night we heard the Bahya teaching. The Bahya teaching is this really a brilliant manifestation of this third instruction in the refrain that we looked at yesterday, establishing enough mindfulness to recognize simply what is unfolding moment to moment, without mental commentary, and to remain mindful of what's happening. So this is the Bahya teaching. And later on, I'll be posting up a translation of that teaching for you to, the Bahya Sutta, that teaching part that you might like to just read for yourself again and again. Such a deep, pertinent teaching in there for us. And that is a way we can practice this third dimension, this third way of relating to what's going on. And yesterday, someone in my group commented on, I talked about leaning into the future, and I mentioned how leaning into the future, being distracted, weakens the mind. We explored this a little bit in our group, and I've been reflecting on this since yesterday. And what I meant there, I felt I needed to explore that a little bit more in my meditation, which I did. Is that what I experienced in my meditation this morning was that there was this intention to be present in my body, and there was my mind planning what I was going to say today, what I was going to do later on, and I could feel this leaning into the future, and there was still this the intention was root planted in my mind and body, and I was torn, and I could feel my mind like this fish when it's on dry land and it's flapping, and my mind, it just it was torn between these two possibilities. I hope this is making sense to you. And it just felt the mind was becoming unsteady, and that's what I mean by weakening it. And if this not really being present, leaning into the future, there is some connection to the present, because usually we've set an intention, we're fulfilling a task. So in a way we are there, but we are not consciously there. We are not intentionally there if and when we lean into the future. And so I hope that's helpful. So today I'm going to explore a little bit more the second instruction, the contemplating the nature of impermanence, the arising, the passing away, and both the arising and passing away in regard to our experience. This awareness of change is a key insight element. And if what we're doing here gets too much for you, or you feel it's overwhelming, I don't know what should I be practicing, what should I be focusing on? Go for this. You can't go wrong being aware of change. Yeah. And it's happening all the time. It's happening all the time. But the difference is when we're approaching change or relating to change through Satipatthana practice, we're not thinking about it. Everybody knows things change. Yeah? You don't need to be a Dharma practitioner to know that. So it's not that we're thinking and we've not got this, what is it, kind of macro, oh yeah, it's all change and I know I'm getting older. It's not that level. We're diving deeper into a direct experience of this change. Yeah? We're coming really close to home. And you just have to see how close am I prepared, am I willing, am I able to be at the moment? And you back off and you move in and you back off. You know? There's Analio, who's done lots and lots of research, practice of Satipatthana, and he keeps coming out with books upon books upon books about it. He's never tired of exploring it, investigating it. And he's come up with this little acronym for the whole of the Satipatthana practice, and that is KCKC. Keep calmly knowing change. That's it. That's it, folks. Yeah. In a way, we could end the retreat here. Keep calmly knowing change. We can remember that, can't we? Yeah. Write it on the wall. Write it on your wherever. Yeah. Pin it up and just don't lose sight of this. Keep calmly knowing change. We could even, if someone's creative, they could produce a mantra from that. Put it to a melody. I'm getting distracted now, right, by my own excitement. Okay. So we're going to be applying awareness of change to our experience in the practice, in the meditation, off the cushion today. And I'd like to first of all draw our attention back to the body, sensations of the body, sensations of breathing, sensations of touch in the body, your posture right now. And just take a moment to sense into the hedonic tone of what your body's signaling right now, the hedonic tone, the felt sense of your posture. Is it sort of more pleasant, more unpleasant? Is it somewhere in between? Just sense into that. It's like you taste the flavor of this physical experience right now. If there's some coolness on a part of your body, how are you experiencing that? Pleasant, unpleasant, an ache somewhere in your body. What's the felt sense of that? Pleasant, unpleasant, somewhere in between. it's easiest to turn to the most prominent sensations, that which is presenting itself anyway, rather than having to search or thinking, what should I choose? Okay, so I hope there was something that you tasted there, that you had a felt sense of. This is the domain of the second Satipatthana, Vedana. We're not going to spend ages on this Satipatthana, the second Satipatthana. In a way, it's woven into experience. We can't ignore it. If we're awake, if we're aware, we have no other choice than really, if we're mindful, registering this felt sense, the feeling tone of our experience. So, we're just like, we're becoming more inclusive. We're including that dimension of experience to become something more to become aware of, to notice. Just notice now and again, now and again. There are different translations for Vedana, and sometimes it can be really confusing. Sometimes it just seems really easy. And then you lose it again. You think, oh God, I don't understand it. I don't know what's meant by Vedana. I spent years doing this. The present state is that I find, first of all, no, I'll go back. A common translation is sensations. Yeah. Now, sensations have, let's say, two sides, like two sides of the coin. A sensation, whether it's a bodily sensation, touch, or it's something coming in through the senses, a sound, has a sensation, or something you see. A sensation has these two qualities. And the one is what I call the characteristics, or the two sides. One side is the quality or characteristic of the sensation, like warmth, tingling, pressure, tightness. Just trying to think of a description of a sound. It might be jarring, harsh to the ear. That's the one side of the coin. And the other side is this hedonic tone, what I'm calling the felt sense, the flavor, the taste. How does it land? Immediately in your experience. Vedana is immediate. And many teachers or in commentaries also translate Vedana as feelings. Now, if we understand feelings in the way I've just described, that's fine. But it's not about emotions here. The English language can be a little bit confusing there because we talk about our feelings and we often mean our emotions. For the purpose of highlighting Vedana, if I say feelings, I mean what I've just described, the felt sense of your experience. And just for the sake of completion, our experience is, of course, not just physical, it's emotional, it's mental. So thoughts have a felt sense, emotions have a felt sense. Maybe there's some distress or sadness. It's unpleasant. It has a feeling tone of unpleasantness. You're happy. It's a pleasant tone. Thoughts. We'll be exploring this in practice. Thoughts. A thought comes, it's her birthday today. It's just got this pleasant ring to it, or tonality to it. Oh gosh, I forgot to turn the oven off. unpleasant, tightness comes. So this is something to play with. Our experience is fantastic. It's a playground. We've got the Dharma as our playmate in this playground of life. Now, what is interesting about Vedana, as with everything else, these feelings, I'm going to just say feelings now, it's easier to say that than give a full description. These feelings are constantly changing. Constantly changing. 1 minute is pleasant, the same thing then becomes unpleasant, or the other way. If you're able to stay with something unpleasant, you notice, it becomes less unpleasant, possibly, or it becomes even pleasant. It's quite fascinating. And feelings, Vedana, are messengers of impermanence. So if you choose to practice with this area of your experience, this is really your main, one of your main foci. I hope that's English, and there are two that I want to emphasize. One is just seeing these feelings as messengers of impermanence, reminding me it's not going to stay like this, it's not going to stay like this, it's going to change. And the other message of feelings is that they're conditioned. They're conditioned and they condition. So unpleasant feelings condition aversion, pushing away, if we're not aware. Pleasant feelings condition craving, clinging, attachment, if we're not aware. And this is the whole area of the gap, which I'm sure you're very familiar with, where we choose, we can choose, and that is why mindfulness is such a good friend. You're mindful that something is pleasant, unpleasant, or even neutral. You have a choice, and you can weaken, and hopefully one day we will be able to even cut off this automatic step into reactivity, reacting with aversion or with craving and clinging, or just zoning out, bland strength, which actually strengthens ignorance. Neutral Vedana, if they go unawares, they will strengthen ignorance, they will condition ignorance. Okay. So we're going to meditate now. It's nice, isn't it? After the meditation, we'll have a break. So we'll meditate for about, again, a good half hour, and then go into our 15-minute break. I'll probably say the time at the end of the meditation. So get yourself almost settled, and there's just two little comments I want to make before we start the meditation. So the first thing is with regard to grounding. If you're finding grounding through the body, whether it's the breathing or physical sensations, is not suitable. It's not serving the purpose of allowing the mind to be in this place of ease or rest. There's another area, there's another way of grounding, and this is grounding your awareness in listening, in sounds. So we're still with the body, but we're using now a sense door as the point of stability or grounding for the meditation. And this just means that you, as you arrive in your meditation practice and you settle, you allow your awareness to open up in a receptive manner, being receptive to sounds. So it's not listening, going out to the sounds. We're not looking for anything. We're just present and receptive, allowing the sounds to come to our ears. And then you note this, you experience it, and your mind, it's giving it a big field to play in. Body is more of a focus, and this is a broader focus, if you like. So not reaching out, just relaxed and receptive to sounds. Again, it's something you can play with in this meditation or in another meditation. And I would encourage you, this is the second thing, to become familiar with this approach to meditation, taking these instructions, what you find interesting, what you find helpful, taking them on board, and either doing it again, repeating the meditation, the lead through, or trying it out for yourself, but with the focus, the theme of the meditation as your intention. Okay. So let's settle. So taking some time to ground yourself. And at the same time, paying attention to a sense of lightness, openness, brightness in the body, whatever position you've chosen to be in. doing what you need to do in a patient, kindly manner. Not forcing the body, and not even trying to force the mind. It won't have it. Settling into relaxed alertness. And during this meditation, I'll be introducing some instructions. So it'll be a lead through. Just try and be receptive to meditating in a different way, not clinging to your usual way, how you'd like it to be. So now once we've settled to the degree possible, again relax. Let go some more. And notice what's there in your experience right now. What's going on? Acknowledging it. No need to hook into it. It's more like allow it to be there. Don't enter into a fight. And then connect with your anchor if you haven't already done so. And here the anchor be the sensations of breathing, movements of breathing through the body, sensations of touch in the body, or listening. Awareness of sounds can be a very beautiful anchor to allow the mind to return to relaxed receptivity and alertness. Your anchor is like coming home. to a place of ease and rest. And now becoming aware of what's presenting itself in your experience. It might be something in the body, something at one of the sense doors. Might be some thoughts, emotions, a mood that is in the foreground. Acknowledge that this is happening. And even turn towards it kindly, not needing to get more involved, but fully, kindly acknowledging its presence. You might even smile inwardly and say, "Hello, I see you're there." But we're not going to have a conversation right now. Instead of entering into that conversation with experience, could we just pay a bit more attention to the question, is it changing? So holding it, meeting it in a relaxed way, curious about its changing nature. Is it getting stronger? Is it fading? And if you lose the plot, return to your anchor, back home. Allow the mind to re-enter calmness and ease. You might do this a couple of times. A phenomena presents itself. You meet it in the way we've just practiced. Allow it to play itself out. Just witnessing its changing nature. And now let's turn our attention to the tonality of whatever's prominent in our experience. This felt sense, the hedonic tone of the thought, of the emotion, of the physical sensation, of the sense impression, of the mood. Whatever it is, just noticing how it lands, what it feels like for you. Be gentle with this. Not rushing ahead, not putting yourself under pressure. Just now and again over the next few minutes, turning your attention to Vedana. And it's the Vedana of what is presenting itself most strongly in your experience. Most clearly, most predominantly. This need not be strong, the hedonic tone. It can be quite subtle or quiet. Turning towards it with mindfulness will help to highlight it, to become aware of it. And now, if you're up for it, paying more attention to the changing nature of feeling. You might like to choose to stay a little longer with an area of pleasantness or unpleasantness, or even neutral, just curious. Is it changing? Is it fixed? Not making anything change. We are allowing it to change. Standing close by with kindly awareness. With interest. With the knowledge this is what's happening. And with a sense of ease, no need to interfere, no need to judge. And now, nearing the end of the meditation, relaxing any focus you have, still present in an open, soft, receptive way. Just allowing the awareness to widen out, to soften in all directions. Just being. Okay. Buddha will just receive his light. Not that he needs it, but it's nice for us to see it. Okay. So yesterday we spent some time, or we have been spending a fair bit of time contemplating the body, our own body, and then those of others from the perspective of internally and externally, and both internally and externally. So we also see here the changing, contingent, dependent nature of this body, or we can see through this contemplation of the body, that the body changes in appearance. External appearance, as we heard in our poem this morning, grey hair, white hair, wrinkles, the skin changes, the shape of the body changes, size of the body changes. I think my husband and myself are getting smaller as we get older. That's what happens, isn't it? And then there's a changing internally in the body, changing in the functioning of bodily organs and systems. And then there's the dependence of the body on food, drink, liquids, warmth, just to name the obvious. So through these kind of contemplations, reflections, awareness of this whole, the body in, from a different perspective, we come to understand that what we call body, that which we so often take to be self, is an interdependent system of organs, bones, blood, neural pathways, and many other components. So for the rest of today, for the rest of this morning, we're going to take a different perspective and different view on the body. Before we do that, I'd like us to do a little exercise and a little reflection. And you'll need your hands for this and your face. So I'll show you first of all. It's very, very, very simple. I'll show you what we're going to do, and then we'll do it together. Take my glasses off for this. So I'll rub my hands a little bit. Just see where it's going. And then I'm going to stroke across my forehead from one side to the other. And then I'll take my index fingers and rub along the lines, the corners of the mouth, up to the sides of the nose. Just rubbing there. Then I'll take my index finger and middle finger, and I've got my index finger behind my ears and my middle finger in front of my ears, and I'm rubbing along those lines again. And then using the same fingers, I'll go across the top of the lip and the bottom of the lip. And then if you want, you can just wash your whole face and give your neck a nice, warm, kindly rub. Okay, so starting off, stroking across the forehead. And I'd like you to pay attention to the quality of touch, to the attitude in your mind towards your body as you do this. Let's change. Index fingers rubbing up and down the sides, corners of the mouth up to the sides of the nose. And again, aware of how you're touching your body. What's going on in the mind as you do this? And then index finger behind the ears, middle fingers in front of the ears, up and down along the side of the jaw a little bit. What's the quality of touch? And then above, below your lips, from side to side. Feeling it, knowing it. And then if you like, whole face, and then move into rubbing the back of your neck. Okay, so that little exercise can be quite revealing. I like to do this kind of thing a lot on retreats, and it's amazing what comes up for people just touching their face. For some people, it's the most natural thing in the world, and for others, it's not at all. And then how you touch your face. So what I'm trying to point to here is becoming more aware of our attitude to our body and our relationship with our body. So becoming aware of this. We're not aiming to do anything with it at the moment. It's not about, oh, that's how it should be, or that's right and that's wrong. It's just a fuller awareness of, how do I see this body? How do I treat this body? Those could be questions for you to take into the retreat, to reflect on. How do I use this body? Does this body have a place in my Dharma life? What's its role? What's its contribution to my Dharma practice? Now, that's an interesting reflection. So just, take some time and do some exploration, some investigation there. And we'll have a look at what the sutta says about this area of experience. And this means now looking more from the inside out. So we're very familiar with the surface, very familiar with the surface and appearance, and we have a particular relationship to that. But let's look inside. And in the sutta, this is the section on the anatomical parts. And I think it's worth me just reading this and I'll read it aloud, see how it lands with you. So it's still first Satipatthana, contemplation of the body. Again, she reviews this same body from the soles of the feet and down from the top of the hair, enclosed by skin, as full of many kinds of impurity thus. In this body, there are head hairs, body hairs, nails, teeth, skin, flesh, sinews, bones, bone marrow, kidneys, heart, liver, diaphragm, spleen, lungs, bowels, mesentery, contents of the stomach, feces, bile, phlegm, pus, blood, sweat, fat, tears, grease, spittle, snot, oil of the joints, and urine. Just as though there were a bag with an opening at both ends, full of many sorts of grain, such as hill rice, red rice, beans, peas, millet, and white rice, and a woman with good eyes were to open it and review it thus: this is hill rice, this is red rice, these are beans, these are peas, this is millet, this is white rice. So too she reviews this same body. So that's the Buddha's teaching on, let's say, relating to the body from the inside. And a way we can take this on board is approaching anatomical parts through three doorways or three layers, let's say. And the first layer is like the skin. This would include hair and nails. So that's becoming, it's like we're going from the outside in, aware of skin, aware of the flesh or fleshy parts, organs, blood, fluids, muscles, fleshy parts. And the third layer, bones, so teeth, you could say. So we've got the surface, bony structure, and then all the stuff inside, you could say. And the point of this practice is becoming more aware of the nature of the body and the functionality of the body, without disgust and without excitement. So in other words, without desire and aversion, or freeing ourselves of this desire clinging to the body or aversion towards the body. And it's really important at this point that we don't misunderstand the instruction here. The Buddha was not against beauty. There are parts in the Pali Canon where he really talks about appreciation of beauty and how important that is. It's not about negativity, aversion, or disgust towards our own body. It's not about that at all. The word interesting I find here, the word that is used, asuchi, and that means something like dirty. And one commentary talks about here that through use, through its functioning, the body does become dirty. If we don't wash it, it starts to smell. But we're not in touch with that because we wash and we shower so much. It's not, by its nature, the body is not entirely clean. It exudes sweat, grease, snot, feces, urine, all kinds of other things coming out of the body. And if it weren't cared for, it would smell. It wouldn't be so attractive on one particular level. So it's kind of taking that on board. That's what the references to here is not about being disgusted by one's own body. The point is not to be attached to the body. That is what the teaching is about here. Loosening, weakening the attachment to body, deconditioning the strong identification with body, and the suffering that results from that identification. The identification of me, this is me. And the more, as long as we do that, we are just going to be imprisoned by a view and an attachment to this view and its limitations. Now, this is a strong practice, and we're not going to go deeply into this, but I'm finding more and more is very valuable. It engaging or starting to engage more with this, these reflections, these contemplations are quite revelationary. And I'd just like to talk a little bit about how we might do this. So on an intellectual level, we can take on board, or we can think we're not attached to our body. We can have ideas about our body, assumptions about our body. I thought, well, I'm not that attached to my body. Rigidity. I was on a month solitary a couple of months ago, and doing this practice, and also more compassion practice as well. And I was outside a lot. I was in a place where there was sunshine, and I just became aware of my skin changing. As I get older, I get these, I don't know what they're called in English, brown blotches over my face, and they're appearing all over my body. In German, they're called aging blotches, I suppose, something like that. So they're appearing, and I quite like soaking up the warmth of the sun. But the more I do that, the more the pigmentation of my skin changes and suffers. So larger areas of my body are kind of turning white. And that's becoming more and more apparent. And I was noting this on this solitary retreat and just observing it. And then one day, sitting in meditation, there was this welling up of a force of attachment just to my skin. I didn't want it to be like that. And that was quite shocking, I have to say. So why I'm telling you this is that to go below the level of assuming it's all right, assuming we know, and finding a balance there. If you feel you want to enter more into that area, do so. So these body contemplations are about seeing it for what it is, especially now moving into the other sections, which we're just going to touch on, anatomical parts or elements, seeing the way things are. And it's like we're asking ourselves, how willing am I to face impermanence? Not out there, but in here. Yeah. So the whole message of this section of the sutta is non-attachment. Non-attachment to the body, weakening that. Now, at the same time, and this I think is really important, alongside that, we practice with an attitude of care, of gratitude to the body, for what it makes possible, and with compassion. I think it was in one of the body scans, Maitrimala drew our attention, I think, to our arms and hands, everything that these arms and hands make possible, just touching your face or the face of a loved one, or holding someone's hand, giving someone a hug. It's marvelous to have arms and hands. It's marvelous to have feet and legs to take us for a walk through the park, through nature. So this respect and wonder for the body also needs to be supporting the insight into its impermanence, its fading, and one day its dissolution. And when I was reflecting on this, what came to mind was investigating my attitude towards aging, towards illness, towards death. And I don't know when you start thinking about aging. I think it's different for everybody, but we're all aging. Even young people are aging. And these changes are happening in the body. The energy is different. You can't do what you used to be able to do. We've already discussed, it doesn't look like it used to look. How do I meet that? How do I hold that? How do I take that into my Dharma life and practice? So with regard to aging, I was reflecting on how would it be to age with grace and acceptance. So accepting and caring for the aging body. Fully taking as fully as possible on board, this is its nature. However much the cosmetic industry spends millions and millions on what is it, creams and stuff that are going to stop our face wrinkling or our skin aging, or other magical products. You can't hold it up. You can't hold it up. So turning to that with full acknowledgement, with compassion and with care for the body. And there are those of us who might err more on the side of taking the body for granted. And then one day there's a shock when you can't move the way you used to be able to. Or you're not as fit as you could. Illness strikes, have an accident. No one's exempt from this. There is this body. It could happen to all of us. And something of that nature will happen to us. So stressing the care and the gratitude. On the other spectrum, we don't want to indulge too much in holding off illness and aging at all cost. Now, there's a whole spectrum of views around optimal health. Is that what it's about? That's what it's about in the end. Then illness. I don't think I'm very good at being ill. I don't know. Other people have perhaps, well, I'm sure you have different attitudes and different experiences and more practice. I'm used to being fit. I'm used to being healthy. And it's been quite a teaching for me in the last few years. My body clearly signals to me when enough is enough. And I'm enthusiastic about the Dharma life, and I have energy and quite a strong will. And for many years, I've attained a lot through willfulness. And there was a turning point when my body, whatever I there is, this mindset would have carried on. The body started giving me very clear signals. Fortunately, nothing really, really serious. But I've started to respect these signals, to take them seriously. And trying to change my attitude to illness. By illness, I don't mean just, seriously, terminally ill, but when the body signals, I can't carry on like this. I need a different kind of attention. Or something doesn't function. And we need to make changes then. We need to accommodate those changes in the body and change our lifestyle, possibly our way of practicing. So it's meeting illness with patience, kindness, compassion. What is it Bhante says? Compassion is the activity of emptiness. So see, this body is empty, and I carry it, I meet it, I hold it, I live it with compassion. The third area then, to complete this section on contemplation of the body, is in the sutra, it's the corpse, contemplation of a corpse. It's highly unlikely that any of us are going to do that. I haven't been to a cemetery, but I have been in an anatomical laboratory and have been present to a corpse being dissected, which was amazing, had a very strong effect on my practice. But that is rare to have that opportunity, very rare. So nevertheless, it's really important how we take on death and dying as part of life. I mean, this is a whole theme in itself. We can't turn a blind eye to it, however old, however young we are, wherever we are in our lives. Yeah, that is the one certainty. That is really what we all have. We all know for definite. Yeah, this life in this form, in this body, will terminate at some point. We just don't know when, and we don't know how. Yeah. So here I found a helpful reflection is approaching how to approach death and dying. This is what this section of the sutta is about. Yeah. And it could be approaching death and dying in harmony with reality, not facing the facts of life and death, not fighting the facts of life and death, facing up to the inevitability, facing up to letting in as kind a way as we can, in as gentle as a way as need be, the fact, the reality of death and dying. And somehow making our peace with that. Dying peacefully, as far as that's possible. But we could take that on as, a perspective for our attitude towards death and dying, making our peace with the inevitable. Another dimension to this area of death and dying is keeping this contemplation, this awareness of the inevitability of death, keeping that alive, and then moving into life, meeting life from that awareness. So this could mean something on a very practical, down-to-date level. The next time I meet my friend, it could be the last time. I don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. So let me be as fully present with her as possible. Yeah. Let me say what I want to say to her then. That I'm not putting life on hold. I'm not putting relationship, communication on hold, if possible. Yeah. I'm being in the fullness of the moment with an awareness. It could be the last time we meet. Yeah. And it's not all, we haven't got control. We haven't got control over anything, but we can have an influence here. So just not leaving things, not waiting. Oh, there'll be another opportunity. I'll do that some other time. I think now that I'm mid-60, the thoughts which were recurrent a few years ago, I could do that at some point in my life. Go there at some point in my life, go back to Australia at some point in my life. And it's just the finality of life is more present for me. So I have stopped projecting life into the future or putting on hold what's really important to me, what's essential to me, and seeing how I can live it more wherever I am, however I am. And that is the benefit of the contemplation of death and dying. Yeah. It's not a grasping out of panic and fear. Oh God, I might not have another chance. It's not that. Yeah, we're still grounded in our practice. We're still grounded in this kindly awareness and the receptive openness. But there is a keenness, a knowing, an awareness. Yeah. Okay. This area of practice, these contemplations, body contemplations, reflections around aging, illness, death. This again is supporting tuning in to the interconnectedness, interrelatedness of life. Yeah, it's an awareness of shared common humanity. No one is exempt from this. And there's something very moving, very beautiful, I find, about that. No one is exempt. And I see others, I witness others, I allow others' suffering to touch me. Yeah. And that is the birthplace of compassion then. So these kind of reflections, turning our attention to these dimensions, that's a strong, very strong practice. So please go gently. Don't force yourself. Yeah, it's like keeping the door open, And if it's not the right time for you now, bearing it in mind, there we come back to recall at some point, when might I be able to open the door just a little bit more to let that in? Okay, I think we'll sit now for the last few minutes. Probably you've got enough to be with for today. You might like to just take more on board awareness of change, awareness of impermanence. So the second instruction in the sutta. So let's just sit for the last 5 minutes, settling, allowing all that to settle, and returning to this moment in time. Find your true home on the path. Find the path right here, in the center of your own heart. If you keep searching in the past and searching in the future, you will search and search, but your searching will never end. Thank you all.